Thank you for the introduction and thank you for inviting me to this conference. And while I was sitting down before lunch and seeing the performance, the beautiful performance of Kuchipudi and then listening to Faisal about his adventure thing, I was literally getting goosebumps as she mentioned. Indeed, a kind of a wish come true when the lunch was announced, because I thought speaking after them would be like such a big challenge for me. Because I would be talking about governance and about Sarkar and about everything that you guys hate. So I, as they mentioned, I have been like in the government for almost 15 years. Around 25 years back, I was a college student like you in IIT Kanpur, and we always I was very excited, and it does make me feel a bit younger to be amongst you today. I hope that today I'll be able to share something, and if there is anything that you want that doesn't connect with you or that you find is too boring, just ask me to stop so that I will move on, or if there's a question or a query or a suggestion, you are most welcome to interject me at any level. So, most people do have is there anyone who has a good opinion about government or people in the government? Obviously not. He's an entrepreneur, he thinks he might have some work with me someday. But if you actually talk to any man on the street about what does he think about government, about IS officers, about politicians, they normally use the choicest of the abuses. They curse the government. And it's not that only the people on the street criticize the government, it's actually proved by surveys also. There have been surveys which say that Indian bureaucracy is the worst in Asia. And there have been year after year such reports have been coming in. The question comes in, like, is this only surveys which say that? There's media also which says that. We have all the stories, cover stories about how we get wages and we don't do any work. And then, but the good thing that we feel sometimes in bureaucracy is that we are not the only one in the world. There's a cartoon from a newspaper in UK, where it also says that we are insulated by layers of bureaucracy. Or this Saudi Arabia, where citizens can wait, but the football match is live. Citizens can wait for 2 hours, doesn't make a difference. IPL is starting, so people would be doing things which are more important rather than attending to the citizens, improving things the way they should be. The question comes is like, why is it so? Very often we also think that why is it so? Why is it so difficult to improve service delivery? So if you look into, like, for example, there is an air of mystification about procedures. How many of you in this room have a driving license? Almost everyone. How many of you actually know the real procedure of getting a driving license? Yes, quite a few. You guys are good. Very often when I give such talks, I find that most people do not know whether it requires 3 photographs or 6 photographs or what documents you have to submit, or whether it's a 40 rupees fees or 100 rupees fees. How long does it take to get a learner's license and all that? Delhi has improved a lot. But the problem when we talk of delivery of services in the government is that there is a mystification. You don't know the passports or the driving licenses or birth certificates or the property registration. The procedure is like too complex. And then you find what it results in that there are long queues at delivery points. You don't know, and once that is there, time is premium, so there will be like multiple visits will be required, the cost of accessing a service goes up. And then the outcome is in suspense. You submit a petition to the government, Chalendra would agree, like you ask for a clearance from someone, and then you don't know what happened to the paper, and there's no way you can track. Things are changing, as I was mentioning, but normally that is what results in a bad image of the government. The gatekeepers at every turn who charge a premium for giving you feed money for getting things done faster, quicker, and very often you think that paying 100 rupee or a 200 rupee or 1,000 or depending on the kind of service that you are accessing is better because it will reduce your wait time or whatever. Too many intermediaries, exception becomes the rule. So these are the reasons which results into a bad image of the government. And when you look at it, for every citizen in his life, whether he's a farmer or whether he's an industrialist, whether he's a student, or he interacts with the government for multiple things. Like, for example, a farmer has 40 interactions, whether it's for fertilizers, whether it's for credit from banks, or whether it's for pesticides, or whether it's just to get regular irrigation water. So he interacts with multiple departments for multiple services. particularly urban citizen, medium industry, small industry, large businesses, as you go up the economic chain, the number of interactions becomes multifold. And then the question comes in, like if at each interaction, at each government office, at each public office, if these are the problems that I mentioned in the previous slide, you have to face, then is it forever, like can you ever imagine that one can streamline your experience or one can have a better experience in dealing with the government? Normally most of you will think no, but I would just mention today of a few initiatives in which this perception of the government has changed. Slow, it's gradual, it's happening not across all departments, not across all the states uniformly, but it is happening. One such example is the Bhumi project. Anyone here from Karnataka? So Karnataka was a state which had a Bhumi project, is the project which is taken by a senior of us, Rajiv Chawla, in which what they did was that they automated the land records. Land records are the copies of record of rights. Like when a farmer owns a property of his agricultural land, then his copy of that record of rights is maintained by the village accountant. For getting a bank loan, example, railways. You guys are too young, you won't have seen how difficult, you won't experience how difficult it was to book train tickets some around 15 years back. There was no way you could book it. And it's a much different, much better experience. Or as she mentioned, Lokwani project within UP. Experience of when citizens used to come to file public grievances to the collector. District collector is the fulcrum of administration in the system, the governance system that we have. So people would go queue up in his office, give a petition, and then expect something to be done. And very often we used to face that when the same fellow comes with the same complaint, you won't even know. So what we did was that we made a very simple system of automating it. People could find online grievances and get a unique number for their grievance, and then whenever the disposal was done, the action taken on it was made available on that same portal. So the farmers or the villagers would not need to come to a collector's office to find what happened to the grievance. And then we had a call center also through which they could access what was being done on their complaint or grievance. So basically, by these 3-4 examples, what it comes to, like when we are looking into improving governance, we are looking into effective governance, looking into good governance. What does it mean? It means like you have to have the citizen at the center of everything. Like whatever actions the government takes, whatever work which a government department does, how is the citizen impacted by that? Citizen-centric processes have to be there. It cannot be a government department. We do this, so citizens have to adapt themselves. Government is for the citizen, so the government departments have to adapt to the needs and the requirements of a citizen. Greater participation always helps. Accountability. All these systems, when we made things electronic, or when we introduced e-governance by making automated systems like the Passport Seva project, in which today in Delhi you don't face the same hardships that you used to face earlier. In MCA 21, when companies file online returns, the banking system. So all these e-initiatives, use of technology, have led to transparency, has led to accountability of officials. You actually, grievances online, time stamped, so you know when a person filed a grievance. So you know what's the wait time, and you know where it is stuck. So you can fix accountability of your down the line officials. The rule of law, once the system is electronic, things follow, like in land records registration system, where mutations were done. Very often for mutations, you file an application, but till you actually bribe the concerned fellows, your thing will not come in. So what was done to eliminate that was an automated system was introduced with a FIFO philosophy, first in, first out. If somebody who is down behind the, down below in the queue, if he wants to expedite something, अगर कोई मंत्री है उसको अपना पहले कराना है, या somebody who is influential, he wants to get his thing done ahead of others, the concerned Tahsildar will have to clear up everything ahead. So first in, first out simple philosophy ensures that the rule of law is followed. And effectiveness and efficiency of processes, and generally these are the elements which ultimately help the government to change its way. And we will find that ultimately it's technology which plays a big role. ICT, it ensures better delivery of services, it ensures reliability, responsiveness, accountability, things I mentioned earlier, and does reduce corruption. There have been impact assessment studies with the help of IIM Ahmedabad, where it does show that in each transaction level, corruption levels have gone down. Whether it's land records, whether it's registration, whether it's filing of returns, or whether it's income tax, all these, wherever technology have been introduced, it has led to a better experience of the citizen in dealing with the government and reduced corruption levels. So it's again, very often I use this slide to say that, like, how does technology affect? The mouse is regarded as the remover of all obstacles, Lord Ganesha. We invoke Lord Ganesha in Indian Hindu mythology. And what it does today, the mouse can cut the red tape, can take the wind out of the touts of public offices, and public accountability and services are seem to be just a blip away. So basically e-government, for which I used to work, she mentioned that I am Director e-governance. I was there as Director e-governance till last year. Now I am in the Ministry of Finance. So it does transform all aspects of the government. But does this mean that without technology things cannot be done? I will now give you a few examples in which there have been certain initiatives by involving the community, by involving the people whom we serve. There are things which have been achieved, and that is the other aspect. Like technology coupled with involvement of people, involvement of community helps in changing the way we govern ourselves. Like for example, this is last year, the young IAS officer in the state of Manipur, the extreme northeastern state, where he was posted in a district called Tamenglong, and there were around a few villages which had never seen a Pakka road. And this guy didn't have any budget, any money to make that road. He decided with the local community that he will get that road made with public participation. He got the community involved, people decided to give Shramdan, people decided to donate money, and then he set up a Facebook page which raised a lot of resources for that road. And this road, the 100-kilometer road was made with no government funding. So all that it required was that to exciting the community, to coming up with an idea, getting involved, and then getting it done. Then another example of something, how things change. Dr. Samit Sharma, he was covered in the famous show of Amir Khan, Satyameva Jayate last year. What he did was that he was a medical professional, again an IAS officer. He came with, like very often when you buy medicines, most often the doctors and chemists, they prescribe you medicines which are very expensive, which are sold by the big pharma company. But for almost every important, every vital medicine, there is a generic equivalent available which is normally available at 1/10 of the cost. So this guy, what he did was that he created a database of all the commonly used medicines, linked up to the generic equivalent of that, and then the Rajasthan government set up Jan Suvidha Kendra, and then they had a toll-free call center to which people could call, and they said that this medicine is prescribed. Is there a generic equivalent of that? And that call center will answer, and they will also tell them depending on where they are calling from, where that drug is available in the Jan Suvidha Kendra. So it benefited a lot of people by this simple initiative. Little bit of use of technology, but more of innovation in trying to provide health services, medicines at a lower cost to people. And this is again another experience about which you mentioned with which I was associated. This is a communitization project that we did in Nagaland. Nagaland is again extreme state in the extreme northeast, where community institutions are very strong. There we used to face this problem of absentee teachers, health workers, ANMs not going and doing their job, vaccination and everything, suffering. It was decided that the Nagaland Public Services Communitization Act was passed, which vested direct authority, financial and administrative authority in the village councils, the village education committees, the village health committees. And what they would do is that normally the salaries of the teachers in the school would be paid by the school education department. Even if they are going or not to teach, or they are sending a proxy teacher to teach, they would still get their salary at the end of the month. The laws were changed and it was decided that the salaries of the budget for the salaries of the teachers will be credited into the account of the village education committees, which had representatives of parents, about teachers, about the administrators in the village level, and they would be the one who would give them the salaries. If these guys are not teaching, if these guys are absent, if these guys are not doing their job properly, there would be salary cuts. The leaves used to be approved by them. Procurement of textbooks, procurement of uniforms, the budgets were transferred to them. And school buildings, the money for construction of school buildings was also transferred to the community. And the community started doing very innovative things. We had villages in which we gave money for building 2 classrooms. And the village had a meeting and said that no, we need 4 classrooms for our children. And then they actually contributed money, they raised resources from other sources and ended up making 4 classrooms. So ultimately, ultimately lot of benefits were there, and the design of classrooms, the location of a school, everything was decided by the community. Similarly for village health committees, they decided on procurement of medicines, procurement of drugs, payment of salaries to ANMs and ASHA workers. So that empowered the community, which helped improve services. It was based on the triple T approach, the trust, train, transfer. Number one, you trust the community, you train them in doing what you have to do, and you transfer authority to them. The Panchayati Raj Act, the 73rd and the 74th Amendment, those of you who were aware of that, it does say that it will be done, but it has not been done across the country. We still retain most of the powers in the state governments, in the state legislatures and the central government. So once this authority is transferred, very often we think that they are not capable, they will eat up all the money. But even if they eat up money, it's decentralization of corruption. It spreads. And then since they are directly there, they are dealing with day in and day out with the people in general, they would be much more responsible than people sitting in state capitals or the national capitals. Another very interesting example of this commonetization was village electricity management boards. Village electricity management boards, what we did was that there was a lot of theft of electricity which used to go on. People would not have meters, people would put katiyas, which is common across the country, and then they would be using electricity and not paying the bill. And collection used to be a problem because our fellows, our power department fellows who were responsible for collecting the dues, they would take bribes, so they would do a hanky-panky, and ultimately the government would not get the revenue. So what we did was that we had village electricity management boards which were authorized to collect the electricity bills. And we removed the meters from individual houses and we put up a single point meter in the village. Like the entire billing for the village would be done from the single point meter. And we said that whatever is the electricity consumption as per the single point meter, it will be collected from the individual households by the village electricity management board. And they would go house to house and see that whether they are using it or not, and they would divide the bill depending on the usage that is happening in the village. And very innovative things happened. Our collections went up 400%. And innovative things happened, like some village electricity management boards, some village councils decided that we won't use incandescent lamps, we will use CFLs to save electricity. So this way what we found that when you trust the community, when you empower the community, great innovations take place. This was the Nagaland experience, which was awarded the UN Public Service Award. Basically, I would, the key takeaways that I would say in this, what I have been mentioning is that ultimately for the government, for the citizens, today good governance is not only a necessity, it's a demand, it's a requirement. The idea is to simplify the processes, make them efficient, use technology, bring in accountability and efficiency by having community participation. And then there are people who are supposed to, who are fortunate enough to get a chance to serve in various places, and they are the ones who are supposed to give leadership. And once that is done, then we will be slowly changing the image of the government, which as I mentioned is pretty bad, and there is a desire of everyone to improve it. It will take some time. That's it that I wanted to mention. If there are any questions, I would like to.